Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Jon Machota covers the Dallas Cowboys for The Athletic. Good enough to give us a few minutes here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Jon, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
It is our pleasure. What was the most impressive aspect of Dallas's season opening win against Cleveland?
Man, it's got to be the defense. I mean, the special teams was outstanding. They have a punt return touchdown, and Brandon Aubrey looks like he absolutely belongs in the conversation of the NFL's best kickers, and that was the part that really allowed the Cowboys to kind of blow out the Browns. But there's no question it was the defense. We don't really know, and when I say we, I kind of mean all reporters that cover NFL teams. With the way training camps are nowadays, you don't really know for certain how a team is going to look in their first regular season game. And I say that because not just the training camp, it's how little the starters play in the preseason. And so I guess I shouldn't speak for all reporters because maybe some teams give a little bit better access, I guess. I don't know, but I can't imagine you get a ton as opposed to the way you used to be able to. So to see them go out there and play the way they do in their first game with Mike Zimmer as defensive coordinator, there was no taking a step back from what Dan Quinn did. It clearly looked like they've built on what Dan Quinn was building over the last 3 years. And so that's the one thing that it makes you think, well, if this Cowboys team can be any different in January, maybe it's because the defense might be even better than it's been.
What was the most impressive aspect of the defense then?
It certainly had to be the pass rush. I mean, when Michael Parsons is fresh and healthy, he's as good of a pass rusher as there is in the game, and he might be the game's best. And so that's been the only thing that's missing. He's had other strong starts to the season, but it's tailed. The production hasn't been the same later in the year, really. December, January, still outstanding player, but not as nearly as crazy productive as he has been early in the year. And that was absolutely the case in this game. And DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side looked like he's on pace for a double-digit type sack season. And then really just. He's not a rookie, but technically he is because he didn't play last year. DeMarvion Overshown was a third-round pick a year ago out of Texas at linebacker who he missed his whole rookie year with an ACL injury, but he was just flying around making plays on Sunday. And that linebacker spot has been one that hasn't been really a strength for the Cowboys for really the better part of the last decade. And the way DeMarvion Overshown and then the veteran Eric Kendricks looked at that linebacker spot, it looked like it's certainly going to be a strength as long as those two stay healthy.
So the Saints' offensive tackles were a huge question mark coming out of camp. You've got a rookie at the left tackle in Taliesin Fuanga, and you've got Trevor Penning, who they're trying to salvage at right tackle. He hasn't been able to impact the team in 2 years on the squad. And they looked okay against a bad Panthers team back on Sunday. When you talk about Lawrence and you talk about Parsons, are they anchored to one side? Do they move them around? What kind of matchups do you expect Zimmer to try to find with those Saints offensive tackles?
They both move around, certainly Micah way more than DeMarcus Lawrence. Micah will be everywhere. I mean, he won't play in the defensive backfield, but he'll be all over the place. There'll be snaps where he'll be at linebacker. There'll be snaps where he's lining up over center. He'll be at right end, left end. That's really been his greatest strength over these, this is now going into his fourth NFL season, is just his versatility that he's strong enough that he can outmuscle guys that are a little bit bigger than him. And then the guys that are maybe a little bit stronger, he's just so much more athletic, and so he's able to just get around them. And so I know you can't double team him on every play, but if anybody was ever to ask me, like, what's the key to, slowing down this Cowboys defense, it really is you got to try and do everything you can to neutralize Micah. And if you can kind of take him out of his game, then that's going to be the best chance that you have. Now, other guys can step up, but I think it all starts with Micah Parsons. And you really look at since he showed up in Dallas, they've had 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. This team looks like it's capable of winning double-digit games again. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. But near the top of that list, if not number one, is ever since they drafted Micah Parsons, it's really helped, elevated defense that anybody that follows the NFL knows the Cowboys spend the majority of their money on offense, whether it's Dak, CD, and even in previous years, Romo and Dez. The list goes on and on. But Micah Parsons changed things around here where he really made the defense formidable. And it seems like it continues to get better every year that he's on the field.
Jon Machota is our guest, covers the Dallas Cowboys for The Athletic. Saints and Cowboys coming up on Sunday. Let's talk about that offense that they have spent a lot of money on. Dak Prescott, kind of a polarizing figure. What's the temperature with the Cowboy fan base right now on Dak?
That's a great question because I would say the majority is happy that they got a deal done and that he's going to be their quarterback for this season and at least 4 more after it. But there definitely are people that want to see more in January, and they're frustrated that maybe the team isn't interested in going in another direction. And I can understand where some of those people are coming from. He hasn't been good enough in January, but I also don't know that anybody has. It's interesting how for his contract talks before I got signed, January is brought up a lot. Only having 2 playoff wins is brought up a lot. But when anybody would talk about CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons, that's not brought up. And they were all on the field against Green Bay, in January in what I believe is the worst loss in Cowboys history, with just how badly beaten they were, with how everything was set up for them to make a deep playoff run. And so, yeah, Dak needs to be better in January, but the Dallas Cowboys need to be better in January. And so I would say I'll put it this way. I'd say that 65% of fans, maybe even 70%, are happy that Dak is going to be here for a long time. I'd say that there's probably 35% that were hoping that if things didn't go well this year, like not a deep playoff run, that they would entertain a different path at quarterback. And I don't think Jerry Jones was ever seriously considering that now that we see all the cards that have been played.
What is the identity of the Cowboys offense after Dak? I know CeeDee Lamb is incredible, but what's kind of beyond him?
I would say, it's certainly the passing game. And so it would be really after you take away CD, which it's difficult to do even when you are trying to double him. But I would say it really would be the passing game with tight end Jake Ferguson, who the Cowboys are really dodged a bullet on Sunday that he went down with a knee injury that we were just talking to him in the locker room, and he said that when he went down, he heard it pop, and he had never experienced an injury or any type of a feeling like that. And so he thought for sure, this is probably an ACL injury, and the medical staff was kind of nervous that was the case too. And so that would have been a huge loss. It turns out the MRIs came back, and it's just a bone bruise, and it's a low-grade one. And so he has a chance of playing on Sunday. I think that'll be a game-time decision, but he is a huge part of their offense. And then Brandon Cooks is the other part where, obviously you guys are probably familiar with him from his time with the Saints, but I'll say this about Brandon Cooks. I've been covering the Cowboys since 2011, so I've been covering the NFL since then, and I can't understand how he has been moved around to so many teams, because he is one of the best locker room guys I've ever been around, from just the way he carries himself and the way other people talk about him. And then just the longer he's been around, just the better rapport he's built in this offense, to where he's really become a weapon for them that teams really have to consider when it comes down to just trying to take away CD. Cooks can certainly make them pay, but yeah, the Cowboys are very fortunate that they made that trade for Cooks over a year ago, because he's been a huge asset.
How's that offensive line? We know once upon a time it was the best offensive line in the NFL. A lot of that's kind of aged out now. What do we think about the Cowboys up front?
Yeah, it's funny because I started covering the Cowboys in 2011, and the offensive line had a similar feel then to now, and it's that at that time they were starting to do a rebuild, because that offensive line they had before it really kind of throughout Romo's career was kind of getting older. So in 11, when Jason Garrett took over as head coach, his very first pick was Tyron Smith, and that was obviously huge to set the kind of the youth movement on the offensive line, and then in drafts that followed, they ended up getting Travis Frederick and Zach Martin to build it to be what was, arguably the best offensive line in the NFL for a few years. It's taken a little bit of a step back, but it looks like they've hit on Tyler Guyton, their left tackle that they took in the first round, and then Cooper Beebe, the center he was a guard at Kansas State, but he's playing center for them, and they end up getting him in the third round. He looks like he's got a solid future as well. And so you pair them two with Zach Martin, who's still playing at a Pro Bowl level, and Tyler Smith, who might even be better than Zach Martin at this stage in his career, still a young player. And so it's not the offensive line that it was, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But they have the building blocks that, like, maybe in the next year or two, it could be back to that.
What's the key as you start to look at this matchup between the Cowboys and Saints, either side of the ball, that you think may swing this one?
Really, I think Derek Carr is a big part of it. If he can get the ball out quick and make quick decisions, I think the Saints can have success. But if he has to sit back there, I just think he's going to be in trouble with this pass rush. That goes for even if you have a really strong offensive line. There's a lot of different things that Mike Zimmer can throw at you, and I don't think they came close to even having to reveal a lot of that, just because of the way the game went on Sunday. And so if you tell me that Derek Carr is able to stay upright and get the ball out pretty quick, I think the Saints have a chance. But if that doesn't happen, I just don't see how the Cowboys don't win this game. And it's kind of interesting that they're coming off of what I think is the worst loss in Cowboys history, which was at home at AT&T Stadium. But one of the reasons that factors in as being, to me, the worst loss is because just how good they've been at home the previous 2 years during the regular season. I mean, the best team in football. And that's why when they, had that game at home, most thought, oh, well, they'll win this game for sure. They're just a different team at home. So I do think that will return in the regular season. I'm gonna hold back judgment on if I think that necessarily will hold through in January. Got to see a little bit more here, but they are a really good team at home, and so I understand why the Cowboys are favored, but hey, big game. Certainly, the Saints can win.
He's Jon Machota, covers the Cowboys for The Athletic. Cowboys and Saints coming up Sunday from Arlington. All right, thanks, John. Appreciate the time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.